Hi, this is Christy with Paper Snippets and Handcrafts, and today we're going to try and finish up the inside spine, possibly the waterfall, and we do need to cover the back of the book. If you want to have a spot where you can put a brad in for a dangle or something like that, you should cover the spine, and then we'll add this little brad, and then in the inside we'll cover up the back of the brad. But if you want a little spot like this to hang a dangle from. So anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and cover the spine, and I've already cut my cardstock. I do not have this on the cut sheet. The cut sheet only has the sizes for the book and putting it together and the pages. So you can decide whatever you want your borders to be around with your cardstock. Mine's around, I don't know, like in between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch. When you get your book together, not everything is going to be an exact measurement. So like this spine is about 1 5/8 by 8. And so I made my spine 1 1/2 by 7 5/8. And then I made the red cardstock a little bit smaller. It's about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. And then the pattern paper is smaller than that. And so we're gonna put that down. We're gonna put the back down, which the back was around 6 5/8 by 8. And I cut mine 6 3/8 by 7 7/8. And then this little piece right here is around 1/2 by 8. And so once again, it's a little less than 1/2. So what would that be? I'm drawing a blank. 3/8, right? Yeah, 3/8. So I did the silver paper in 3/8, and then I did this 1/8 of an inch smaller. And so we're just gonna glue all of these down, and then we will move on to the brad. Get a little bit more glue on there. Get that down. We'll do this one first because we want this one to dry a little bit before we punch a hole in it to put the brad in. And these brads are just the cheap brads. I get them at Walmart. You get 200 of them. I doubt I will ever use all of these, but okay, so we have that down, and let's go ahead and put this little piece down. And like I said, you can decorate this however you want. You can measure out your book and decide what kind of borders you want. I just kind of try to keep my paper lined up. Even though the border isn't exactly the same all the way around, I just keep my silver cardstock at the same height. Okay, now we'll do the back. I'll look at this real quick like and make sure it lines up. Okay, let's get some glue on it. This silver cardstock is really stiff, especially when you get another layer on top of it. It's very stiff. Maybe should have put a little bit more glue. Might have to go back in and I just use, if I get any glue leaks out, I love this bone folder. I just run my bone folder on the edge where it's leaking out. Okay, so now we got that done. I'm gonna run scraper over it real quick like and make sure it's down really well. Okay. So on the inside, I've marked a spot where the brad is going to go in. And before I do that, I am going to go ahead and get my spine over here. And this is a piece to cover up the spine, and then we're going to put the hinge on top of this. So I just want to look at this real quick like, and make sure where I have my brad is going to be underneath this piece of paper. So I had already marked it. I put it down about, about 3/8 of an inch down, which this paper is going to more than cover that. So that's what I wanted to make sure. Before I put that down though, I am going to get out my hinge right here, and I'm going to glue these pieces together. This is the hinge. It is 3 3/4 by 7 5/8, and it's scored at 3/8, 7/8, 1 3/8, 1 7/8, 2 3/8, 2 7/8, and 1/4. And here's that right here. So if you can see that. So what I did is I just put some tape on. So the first piece is going to be glued down. These two pieces to the book. These two pieces will be glued together, the mountain, and then the center one will be glued to the book, and this one will be another mountain that's glued together, and then this will be glued to the book. So what I'm doing is I'm just gluing these down and prepping these for after I get my brad in. I'm gonna just add a tiny bit of glue to this. I don't like my stuff to come apart. So let's get that glued. I have glues all over my hands. And then let's take these off. Those away. Put a little bit of glue in here. Okay. So I just run my bone folder over this real quick, like making sure it's adhered and kind of moving the hinge. Okay, so that's put together, and when I come back, and I got to do the brad, but I'm just dry fitting all of this to make sure. I'm going to glue this down, and then I'm going to glue this on top of it. So the measurement for this one was 3 7 7/8. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. And then if you want to add, you don't have to, this is optional, but if you want to add a piece of pattern paper or cardstock or whatever, this is 1 3/8 by 7 3/4. And that's going to get glued just like that. So let's set this aside, and let's what I use to punch my hole is I use the We Are Memory Keepers punch. I use the smaller side, which is, I don't know what size this is. Is it an 1/8? So I use that to punch the hole to put our, sorry, I gotta stand up so I can see. So just like that. So now we've got the hole through here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna get our brad and we're gonna stick it through here. And I just use this cording. If any of you are familiar with a bow maker, this is their cording that has the wire through it. And I really like it because it holds its shape. And so what I do is I hold this brad. I hope I'm I hope you can see this. I get the length that I want, and because my dangle is pretty long for this one, I don't know that I'm going to make this loop very long. This is fraying. So I go ahead and I wrap this around it a couple times so it's tight, and we can come back and we can trim this, and then I leave some length to make a loop, and then I go ahead and I wrap that back underneath it like this. And I need to make sure that the dangle that I have there's enough room for it to fit on, and there is. So this is the dangle that I'm going to put on there. So that looks good. So if you don't have a dangle already made, I mean, you can decide that afterwards. I got this one in a swap, so it was perfect for this book. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and trim this off with my scissors and see if I can clean it up before I turn it over and adhere it. I don't want to cut that off right yet. And I did cover this up, so I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect underneath there because I am going to cover this brad up. I don't like seeing the gold. And I'm just kind of using this We Are Memory Keepers tool to get it in there nice and tight. So that's what it looks like. And I'm just going to trim this little piece right here. And trim this top right here. Okay. So that's what it looks like. And it's nice and tight. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to hold your dangle. Okay, let's go inside. Let me move this to the side. And let's go ahead and start putting things down in here. You can take, if you want to, a piece of tape and tape this down. I don't have any tape right now. I'm just going to use, I was going to use Scotch tape, but I think I'm going to just use a piece of my score tape to go over it. Okay. So now this piece, what I did, this 3 7 7/8, what I did is I just put it where I want it, and you want it to line up on on the edge of this piece right here, which is the spine. And then I give about 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch. And I held it down and I scored it where, lightly scored it where it's gonna sit. So I know where to score it once I get it down. Okay, so let's go ahead and glue this down. Let's take this off. So let's get that right at the edge there, just like that. Probably getting my face in the camera, sorry about that. Okay. Let's go ahead and burnish it. So this is where the little brad was, and it's going to be covered up again because we're going to put the spine over it, and we're also going to put a piece of pattern paper or cardstock. I'm using silver cardstock. Okay, that's good and glued down. And like I said, you can lightly go over this. Once again, once you get it in there, you don't want to rip your paper, so don't push hard on it. And then gently, you want to just give it a little nudge up. You don't want your paper to buckle. When you make these, it's kind of like, for me, it's hard because you don't want to mess up because you either found a really cool golden book somewhere or you had to purchase a brand new one. And so just be really careful like when you're doing something, because I know that these books, sometimes you can't find them. They're vintage ones, or they're ones that were discontinued, which is frustrating because like finding Winnie the Pooh ones it's very hard. And when you do find them, they're not in good shape. I wish they would start making Winnie the Pooh golden books again. Okay, so we got that done, and now we're just going to add, sorry, hold on. My phone's probably going to die. I'm going to probably have to charge it here in a little bit. We're going to go ahead and add this paper to the top of it. Just center that. The first time I added this brad, I forgot to do it before I laid all this stuff down, and I kind of had to cover it up. So it's nice if you can get it underneath so you don't have to see it. Okay, and then I can't remember. Usually when I put a binding in, I trim my sides, and I can't remember if I did that in this one. but I'm going to trim it just a tiny bit. And you don't like it when your pages are, your binding or your hinges are showing, whatever they're called. So I'm going to trim them just a little bit. Okay. And we're going to glue that down like that. Some people use tape on this. I use Barely Art glue, and I've never had any issues with it not staying adhered. I usually do use gold cardstock like this, so I'm thinking this should be okay. I do apply quite a bit of glue on this because I want it to stay down. I don't want it to fall apart. So we will just center that and glue that down. Take a different bone folder to run it along here. Move your hinges around. You want it to dry really well before you really start moving it around. Okay, now that we got that down, and this again is optional, you don't have to do this, but I do like to add these little pieces. And I don't think I'm going to do them right now. I think I might wait to add these until after I put my page in. So anyway, I just trim little pieces like this, and we're going to glue those down. But I think I'm going to hold off on that, and we'll go ahead and we're going to glue. So I think these sides were, what did they measure? These sides are 3/4. So I cut these at 5/8, 5/8, and 7 7/8. And I'm gluing these to each side of the book. And I have one more piece. Where is it? So I want this one over here. And we're going to glue one over here as well, but I'm going to hold off on that one until we get the waterfall in. Okay. This is why it takes me so long to do anything, because I'm so picky. Okay. So let's go ahead and I will glue those down. Let me try this one over here. I wish I would have cut my stars a little bit differently. Okay. So let's glue these down. that we got these down, I'm going to hold off on the back one because I want to glue the paper down that I'm going to put down first. And once again, like, all of this layering is optional. You don't have to add layers below everything. You can just glue this right on the top. Okay, so the next thing is the back. The next thing we're moving on to is the back, where there's a waterfall. And so I believe, I'm not sure, so the back cover is, let me get the cut sheet. That's for the folio pages. So this sheet is 5 3/4 by 7 7/8. And this one is 7 3/4 by 5 5/8. So you could just glue this down like this and it would look fine. And you can do whatever. Like in my cut sheet for the back cover, I said to do 5 5/8 by 7 3/4. But I got to looking at it and I really like the way this sheet looks right here. It butts up against the spine piece. So I'm going to change my instructions to have this as the bottom, and then I'm going to layer this on the top. And then when I do the waterfall, all of these will be centered starting at the top. So let's go ahead and glue this down. Like I said, this one is 5 3/4 by 7 7/8. And all of this is optional. You guys can do whatever you want with this, decorate it however you want in the inside. I mean, some people probably don't like the idea of covering this part up. It doesn't bother me because, I mean, every golden book looks like this in the back, so let's get this. A little bit more glue. Get this glued down. Where's my losing track? So one thing I love, the metallic like papers, the gold and the silver. I love to work with them, but they do show the glue through it. That's why most of them I only use to mat with. Okay, and then this sheet is 5 5/8. It is 5 5/8 by 7 3/4. I'll glue that down. Oops, just throw my paper across the room. I need to change my glue bottle on this. This is my tip that's lets out more glue. And so I feel like I'm getting a lot of glue coming out. Plus I just refilled the bottle so it's full to the top. Okay, get that centered. And don't worry about if you get glue on it, because I mean, this basically is a border, is what it is. Okay. All right, and then you will have 6 pieces that measure, I don't know if you can see that, is that right? No, these, yes, 4 3/4 by 5 1/2. So, and they're going to go this way. I don't know why when I was cutting this out, I screwed this paper up and I kept cutting these wrong because there's a waterfall inside the folio and I kept cutting them wrong. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to line them up and start gluing the hinges down. And if you see in the back of this one, see they're just lined up and glued down. So that's what I'm going to start doing. So you want to put glue on this back side right here. And I just make sure that it's even on top and bottom, or top and sides, not bottom. Make sure it's glued down. Run your bone folder on it. And you're going to want to do the next one. And before I glue this down, I make sure that everything lines up so it looks good. So we're going to go ahead and glue this one down. You just want to butt it up against that next one below it. And fold it down, make sure it's lined up. Burnish it. Go to the next one. It's pretty boring after this. You just keep gluing these down. Oh, I didn't make sure this one lined up. So like if it doesn't line up very well, you can trim your edge. But that one is lining up, so I'm going to check this one. That one's a little off. There we go. So get some glue on it. Okay, we have 2 more. We're almost done with this. Sometimes if they get a little bit off, you can like recrease them. Seems like they start off great, and then as you go, they get crooked. Because nothing is perfectly straight when you cut it. As much as I try, I never get everything perfectly straight. Oops. This one. There's other ways to do a waterfall. This one's nice if you want to just use scraps of paper. Okay, see, I'm off a little bit on that, but it's all good. Okay, last one. I'll glue this one down. It's pretty good. That one is done. So now we have the waterfall. So if you look at this one in the back with the waterfall, so this one we'll add a strip here, and then we'll add a little bit bigger piece of paper right here so it makes it look like it's the next page when we're done. And this piece right here, we can glue down later on. I'm going to glue it down later on when I'm adding the pattern paper to it. And I'll do a separate video on decorating the whole inside. But this is the piece of paper that will go down here. And you'll use your little card to, you know, like a piece of ephemera or whatever. And we'll glue this just on the sides and very bottom. But I'm going to hold off on doing that. I am going to, now that I have the waterfall in, I'm going to go ahead and glue this piece down right there. So, I really didn't want this to go as long as it went, but I am a slow crafter. I have always been a slow crafter. Because I guess I'm picky. I don't know. I don't know why I'm so picky. Okay, pull that down just a little bit. Make sure it's not on my closure. Okay. And I can go through after and clean up some of this glue mess I made. This is going to be seen, so I will get rid of the glue. I don't know if the dollar store still sells these, but I originally got mine years ago from Stampin' Up, and I love them. But you do have to be careful. If your glue isn't fully dry, you will rip your paper. Okay. So this is popping up. Once you get your papers and stuff, it will settle down. And you can also add a tie closure to this if you want to. I just personally like to put the card in here. So, All right, so that is the back of the book. The spine is now done, inside and out. So this is going to be it for today. The next video I will have making the pages and inserting the pages inside the book. And then it will be done. It just needs to be decorated. And I will probably come back and do a little bit of decorating. I'll have everything pre-cut, so it'll hopefully go fast. And anyway, so that is the inside and the back, inside and back covers finished. So I hope you enjoyed this and you'll tune in for the finishing product. Talk to you later. Bye.